Hey, everybody, and welcome to the FL Solidity team call. My name is Marisa Maggio, and today is October 17th of 2024. Super excited to be in week 3 of October. The year is coming to an end quickly, but in the best way, it possibly could. But without further ado, we have a very special guest on with us today. We have Miss Letticia Mckinley on with us. Did I butcher that, Letticia, or did I crush that?
You got it.
I thought I did. I was like, this is my girl. I've introed her many times. So Letticia has been on our call prior. If you had the pleasure of hearing from her, that's awesome. If most of you, I think, haven't really had the pleasure, but you've seen her on Dial Team and you've heard her, which is great. So Letticia, first and foremost, thank you so much for taking the time being on with us today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's always, always, always good to give back to your team. Everybody on your team is always amazing, from Heather, Christina, Rami, like you guys are all crushing it. So loving to see the success, and I am happy to be here to share.
Absolutely. And just to kind of intro the call, Letticia, tell us a little bit kind of, about yourself, maybe what you were doing before insurance and kind of what got you into insurance and, why Family First Life.
Yeah, so a little bit about me. I'm Jamaican, as you probably can hear from my accent.
My favorite place in the world, I think, by the way, just in case you're wondering.
I know I saw you guys there last year. You around me. You guys look great. Yeah, so I'm originally from Jamaica. I've been here. How long have I been here now? I think about maybe like 13, 14 years, something like that. Um, when I first, before coming to Family First Life, I did, odd jobs here and there. I was, I worked at right before I got into insurance, I think I worked at a call center. And then before Family First Life, I worked at another company a couple months before coming here. So I was there maybe like what, 9, 10 months before then coming here to Family First Life. But while I was working at that practice company, we mainly did cold calling. So a lot of you guys that are here at FFL, we have the the privilege of not doing that, right? Because we actually have clients that fill out forms requesting our help and requesting the information. So if you've ever done cold calling and then coming from cold calling to here, it's kind of like it's way easier. Just to put it simply, it's way easier a transition. So I'm really happy that I found Family First Life from my practice company, and I've just been here ever since. So yeah.
Love it. And, first and foremost, love that you were born in Jamaica. You've been here some time. And, like you said, starting in a call center, I feel like we hear that really commonly. So it's like, guys, if you know folks in a call center that need a better opportunity, they always crush it here. Like Letticia crushes it and many more to rattle off there. But in your practice company, Letticia, just real quick, not to stay here, but 9, 10 months you were there. What made you say like, maybe I should like check out this Family First Life place?
Definitely the comp.
What was your comp prior?
Oh, it was nothing. It was like they started us out at like I think 45%. And out of that 45%, you had a your upline. And you both would actually go out in the field to help families. So whenever you made a sale, that commission had to be split 50-50.
So anytime you made a sale, your upline took a cut, you took a cut.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well,
So going from 45 to half of that.
I was going to say, so it was really like 22 and a half,
Right.
which was what my practice company started us at. So, hey, I'm like splitting business, all that fun stuff. So having leads over here and a much higher comp was probably what really we were like, I'm in.
Absolutely.
Love it. Love it. Now, you've been in the industry for some time now, right? And you've definitely had the chance to experience with different agents and agencies of, why do agents kind of typically step out of the industry? Now, over your years in the industry, what have you found that typically agents overcomplicate and it can sometimes drive them out of the business?
There's so many things. But I think mainly I think people are just like more overthinkers. Like they think too much into this. Like I know that we always say that it is so simple, guys, but it really is very simple. You get your leads, you dial your leads, you book your appointments, you go in homes. But a lot of agents, when they're coming in, they're like, oh, I gotta know all I gotta know all the rebuttals before I even get my script. I need to know all the products. I need to know all the carriers. Oh, am I contracted with this IUA carrier? Oh, am I contracted with this annuity carrier? Oh, am I contracted with this? Can I sell a group policy? Like you haven't even said a whole life policy. How are you gonna sell a group policy? Like it's just like so many different things that they have going on in their head, and I just think just they really just confuse themselves by overthinking this thing and not, sticking to one or two things at first and like really mastering that and then gradually growing from there. So I think because people too, for some reason, they also think that because they've been on this earth, I guess for how many years, they've been on this earth, right? And they're like, okay, so I think I got this. I know this. And they don't rely on other people for guidance and leadership and mentorship because for some reason they think that, hey, I can sell life insurance at a high level, which they have not. So I have to, I have to, be able to, what's that word? I have to be able to nicely guide them back to the fact that, hey, I've been doing this for this many time and you have been doing this for this many time and I'm here. And then you're like, where are you? Like, so you have to be able to, to be able to guide people and ground people to get to the number, to get to where they need to be. And I think that's why it's so important, our slogan here at Family First Life, where you have to be humble and hungry, to get where you need to be, because I really do believe that you have to be humble, hungry, and have the right attitude to be successful here.
100%. And I think that, like you said, I would say like overthinking has killed a lot of people that could be really great in this industry. And also, like on the other side of that, a huge ego has definitely killed a lot of people in this industry. Sean says it all the time. You can't have a big ego and a big business at the same time. Guys, that ego, it's like however many years, like Letticia said, that you've been on this planet. We love you. We're happy for you. But if you have never sold life insurance at a high level, you might have been on this planet for 50 years. It doesn't mean you can come in and just sell life insurance with nobody's help. One thing I think that, we do an awesome job at, Letticia, is being there for agents, right? Like making sure that they have someone to talk to, making sure when they're dialing, there is somebody there, making sure if they are going in home that there's somebody that they can call, right? Like there's always these steps, guys, but if we're skipping them or we're misstepping or we're overcomplicating the product guide, like Letticia said, like it's your first day and you have to get contracted with Athene. Like, no, we need you just to go write some am and let's just call it a day for right now. All right. Like let's master one or two things. And I think that that's the biggest thing you said that really stuck out to me, Letticia, is like stick to mastering those one or two things in the beginning. And guys, you'll be amazed at like how many other doors open through mastering those one or two things. So make sure again, like you're focusing on the right thing. So I love that, Letticia. Don't overthink. It's easier said than done, yes. But the moment you stop overthinking and you start seeing different results, you're like, I'm happy I kind of stopped doing that overthinking thing, right?
Just
Now,
to add,
Letticia,
I think there's another thing that a lot of agents that aren't successful right away is the fact that they don't necessarily believe that they can do it as well. You know, if you don't believe that you can do it, how do you expect us to believe that you can do it? Right? You kind of have to um trick yourself into believing even if you don't believe. No, trick yourself into believing that, even though, Marissa is so good at this, or Christina is so good at this, or Heather's so good at this, that's them. But you can also get to where they are because we all have the same insurance license. Like nobody has a insurance A plus license, and then your insurance license is D minus E. We all share the same insurance license. We all went and did that same exam. We all took it. We all passed it. We're all here, right? And that's your qualification. Now it's up to you to decide how you are going to use what you have required to become successful, right? But you have to firstly believe that, hey, I have the ability to do this, and not to compare yourself with anyone, because, as they all say, comparison is a thief of joy, right? Marissa has been doing this for, you might see Marissa crushing it right now, but I'm pretty sure that Marissa didn't come into this industry crushing it right away.
Definitely not.
Right. So you cannot compare Marissa's day 17,000 to your day one, right? So you have to have that self-belief in yourself starting out, and know that this is like I said, it's simple, but it's hard, because you have to be persistent at it for it to actually start clicking, but it will click for you. So having that self-belief, I think a lot of people lack. And when they do acquire this as well, it doesn't matter what comes their way, they'll be successful at it if you have that, for
A
sure.
100%. And I love how you said, Leticia, like, like if you don't believe in yourself, like we can't believe in you for you. Like we can believe in you, but like we can't make you believe in you, right? And in the beginning, I always talk about like borrowing belief. It's like I truly feel like anybody, guys, if you're on this call, somebody brought you in, and whoever brought you in believes that you should be here and that you can do this. If they didn't believe that, they wouldn't have brought you into the business. Now, it's your job to either borrow that belief, in my opinion, which just means instilling self belief, just like Letticia talked about. It's not always easy to do. But guys, if you can just be like, this is what I'm going to do for the next week, because like, let's just see what happens. And you go to work. And just like Letticia said, like, this is not like, oh, this is so hard. It's rocket science. But it is hard in the sense of you have to show up every day. And when you don't, it's going to be it's shown, it's proven. Like Letticia, you ever see like an agent go off? They write like, like they issue out like in the week like 30 grand, and then they go like MIA for like a month,
Mhm.
right? Like it's like
They going to spend that money. I'm just kidding. Well, maybe they
no,
did.
they probably did though, right? And then you're going to have chargebacks, and you're going to have different things that arise in the business, and you're going to come back to a mess, and you're going to be like, this business stinks. No, you didn't do what was asked of you. Nobody said write 30,000, take the 30,000, go to Disney World, travel the world, and come back in 2 months, and there's not going to be any chargebacks, right? Like that's not the reality of this business, guys. So if you're on this call, like Letticia said, like things that we can do for ourselves are show up and stay consistent, do what we say we're going to do. So I love that, Letticia. And then in your process, Letticia, it's fair to say that you've helped like well over like you've helped thousands of families, like maybe even like 100,000, like individually. Is that fair? Like you've helped thousands of families.
I would say millions.
I'm with you. Okay. I was like, I didn't want to push it, but like I was going to push it. All right, guys. So like when Leticia is going through this, guys, like she's not brand new. She's not like she never did this before. Like be clear. Like we are talking to a very heavy, high producing agent who's helped a lot of other agents get there as well, guys. So like when we're going through this part, I think that this is going to be crucial. Talk to us a little bit about asking questions in your presentation. Now, Letticia, you are predominantly still in the home. Is that right?
Correct.
And now, guys, be clear. Like you might be like, oh, well, I should just shut this call off because I'm on telesales. Like, okay, guys, if that was the case, like we wouldn't have Letticia on right now. Here was what I realized, Letticia, from going in home to telesales. I tried to overcomplicate the whole thing, like for like a month, right? I was like, I need this script, that script. I have to fix this. No, I had to do my in home on the phone and give credentials, right? So talk to us a little bit. So my point in bringing that up, guys, is whatever we're doing in the home transitions right to on the phone and vice versa, just like so y'all are rocking with us.
Mhm.
But talk to us a little bit about the importance of asking questions, and what are some of the questions that you're sure to ask in every single appointment as it pertains to anything.
Okay. Um, when I first started, my mentors told me, he was like, the quality of your questions will determine the quality of your life. And when he said that, that really stood out to me. And I really started thinking like I can't just be surfacey with my questions. I have to really dig deep. And a lot of us too at Southeast, when we used to have trainings, a lot of another one of my mentor, he would always say, sometimes when we're not making the sales because we're not letting the fries fry, because he came from the, I guess he came from the restaurant industry. And so he would always relate it to that, saying that, hey, we're not letting the fries fry all the way through. We're not getting it soggy. You've got to get it crispy. Right. And so that also stood out to me when I'm meeting with clients as well, because we have to get to the nitty gritty, guys. What we do is an emotional sale, and we have to be able to, bring out that emotion in people so that they could have that sense of urgency, so that they can move at the end when we want them to move, when we want them to get to where we needed to get them to, right? So if, for example, if I'm meeting with a client that is a mortgage protection, for example, I'm going to be asking them a lot of questions about their mortgage. I'm going to be asking them, what do they want to have happen to the house when they are no longer here? So if, for example, if it's a husband and wife, and the husband is like, okay, I want to make sure that the house is covered for your wife, like, okay, well, what would happen if you didn't have this policy in place?
Leticia, can we like role play this real quick? Like I'll be like the wife answering the questions.
Okay. So you'll be the wife or the husband?
I'll be whoever you need me to be. I got you.
All right. So yeah, so you'll be the husband, I guess, because
Okay.
you're the one that I'm protecting. So, um, Mr. M, you wanna make sure, well, I'll just back up. So how much is your loan? How much do you owe on this mortgage?
150,000.
Okay. And so is it that you want to make sure that the mortgage is covered for your wife? Something happens to you?
Yeah, that's my concern.
Okay, gotcha. And so if God forbid, Mr. M, you weren't here tomorrow, what would happen to the house if you
Um,
this policy in place?
I don't know. But I do know that Mary wouldn't be able to keep up with it.
She wouldn't be able to keep up with the payments, right?
No, it would be really, really hard for her.
Okay. So I'm guessing that, from what you're telling me, you are the breadwinner. You're the one that actually, your income is what actually keeps the bills going.
Yes.
Okay. So pretty much based off your income and she losing that income, would she still be able to pay the mortgage, pay the bills, take care of the children, still be in the house, still have the life that she is accustomed to?
No, definitely not. That's why we're looking into this today, Leticia.
Okay, so you guys want to make sure that if something does happen to you tomorrow, you don't leave behind that burden on Miss Mary so that this house can be covered and your children can have a home. They can still have somewhere to stay, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So mainly those are the pointers that I hit on when I'm talking to my clients. And recently I've actually been adding um so, most of my clients that actually look into this policy as well, Mr. M, they've had something that happened to them recently. Like, have you ever had anyone that passed away recently and maybe had this type of coverage?
Um, well, more recently, I had a friend that lost a husband and he didn't have the coverage. So I just figured we should look into it.
Wow. So did they lose the home?
Yeah.
Wow. So, I mean, like, if they didn't have anything in place and they lost the home, I'm guessing that that was a really, really, really hard situation for them and their families to be able to be mourning the loss of their loved one and not having anywhere to live.
Right. Exactly. So I just want to make sure, like, my family's never in that predicament.
Okay. All right. So that's why we need to make sure that we have something in place today, correct?
Yep.
Okay. And
And guys, like, she just sold it. But that's it. It's sold, period. Right. Like, is that fair to say at that point, Leticia, you're feeling really good? And it's like, if you don't intimidate the reality of it, right? Like if Leticia is just like, so who are you looking to protect? And I was like, oh, Mary. And she's like, okay, you're just worried about if you die. Like, that's surface. It's going to become too surface to actually sometimes. I just sold Letticia on why I needed the insurance. I gave her a personal story. I told her that without, she said, and I quote, and I wrote this down because I thought this was amazing. I'm going to start using it myself. So, your income is what actually keeps the bills going. Guys, this is like, it's an income conversation with the mortgage, especially. It's like your income is what actually keeps the bills going. And if you can't stay there, right, Letticia, the first time you asked those questions, was it uncomfortable?
Of course, absolutely.
But now it's like it's uncomfortable if you don't ask, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, you're like, what am I doing in here? I didn't even ask them like what it looked like. You ever walk out of an appointment and you're like, what just happened, right? And like maybe you just
Right.
didn't ask all the questions, like we'll all have our days, guys, but those questions they need to be asked because what's happening there is we're getting the reality of the situation. Like not a lot of people, guys, like go are like, oh my God, I just want to protect my mortgage today. So like I love how Letticia added in like, is there something recently that happened or a situation, whether it was for good or bad, right? Like I actually used that story from a client I had like a couple days ago, was like, well, actually, no, but this is what happened with one of my friends. It's like, guys, it's very common that something happened and triggered them to fill out a form for insurance. It's very common. So I love that, Letticia. You add like a personal touch there too. And that way they feel more open.
It's so crazy the stories that you hear from clients. Like the other day, I don't know this client that I had actually yesterday. She still didn't buy, but nevertheless, she said that her aunt had this type of coverage, and so her aunt covered her husband. Her aunt's husband died. He had this type of coverage, and so her aunt was the one that wanted her to get the coverage, and her aunt would be paying for it. So I was like, oh, okay, hold up here. If your aunt is paying for it, then, do we need to get your aunt's billing information, or are you going to be paying for it?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And she said that, well, no, it's fine. She's going to be paying for it. But then at the end, she then say she needs to contact her aunt because her aunt is, I'm like, really? Like, lady, like, I asked you this question and you're still going to use it back at me. But it's crazy the stories that you hear when I started asking them if something happened recently that caused them to actually look into this type of coverage. It's really eye opening.
And
Yeah.
a lot of people are probably more willing to share even like past stories of things that happen because they're like, well, actually, yeah, right. So it just triggers the mind to do a lot of things.
Yeah, and stories sell, guys. Like when you're getting clients to open up like that and to tell you their own life stories, it's hard for them to backpedal because they just told me that they want to have this coverage because somebody else had it and they died. So it's kind of weird for them to come back and say, "Oh no, I don't want the coverage."
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So
Like now you're working against yourself here. Right. So it puts you in a situation of being proactive and not having to be probably a whole lot reactive there at the end. Right.
correct.
And that was what I was going to actually, my next question is, as it pertains to objections, Letticia, there's only a few we can get, right? Like I have to think about it, which I absolutely hate because like we're going to kill that one. I can't afford it, right? And that's pretty, and like I don't need it, or like I don't remember filling the form out, and that's like on the phone. It's like, so talk to us a little bit about, or I'm shopping. That's actually, I'm shopping. Those are the three. Talk
Yeah.
to us a little bit about how you like avoid that.
So if you ask your financial inventory the correct way, you're overcoming all of those objections
Yes.
right off the bat. So, right off the bat, I'm telling them that, hey, I am a broker. I represent 100 plus different insurance companies, and I am going to be the one that's going to be doing the shopping around for you to make sure that I find you the best carrier. Okay. So when I shop around for you to find you the best carrier, what we would then have to do, submit an application to that carrier. That carrier is then going to do some underwriting to get back to us to let us know if, in fact, you'll be able to be approved or you won't be able to be approved for this coverage. So we're crushing that one right away. The afforded part, how I address that in my client inventory sheet is that when I go over their income, I always say this. So I normally say, okay, so you have $4,000 a month coming in, right? Okay. So like most people that I meet with, about 50%, because typically in order for you to be able to qualify for a home, you have to have a 50% debt to income ratio. You know, they won't approve you for a loan if it's more than 50% debt to income ratio. So I always say you have about 50% of your income going out for your bills and your expenses, right? And they normally agree with that they normally have about 50% going out. And then I say, okay. And then I don't leave it there. So I'm like, okay. So then you would say you have about, I don't know, another 1,000 or so put aside for your savings or so. Yeah, okay. So that means you have a little breathing room left over, right? Like I am stressing to them that they have this money to put into this policy. So you have a little breathing room left over each month. They're like, oh yeah, 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 I'm fine. I got a
I'm
little
breathing.
yeah, I got a little breathing room left over. So I already know that they have, an additional $100, $200 disposable to put into a policy because they already told me how much of their income they have going out. And what is the other one
You did shopping around, can't afford. I need to think about it.
about it? Um,
But you
uh,
also told me that they're going to take the application, get it sent up, and we have the answer back in 2 to 5 days,
yeah,
right?
you could use that, but what I learned from one of my mentor, what he does is that he says, okay, so we can't think about it right now because we have to actually see if in fact you'll even be able to be approved for this first. Okay. So when they come back to let us know, that way we will know, what direction we need to go into. If we need to actually, keep you in this plan or if we need to look at other options. So we can't do any thinking right now because we need to actually submit it first to see what it's going to come back with before we actually make a decision.
Absolutely. I love that. So, like, we can't think about it right now. Like, basically, you don't even have anything to think about because we don't know if you qualify, right? And guys, that's the dead honest truth. Now, Letticia, I don't know if you've ever been in this situation, but I share this, guys, like in terms of just trying to help everybody kind of understand why that's important, right? Letticia, have you ever had like a follow-up appointment and then you're like, you know what, John, like whatever. If you want to call me, call me. And John calls you and he's like, hey, Letticia, I've been thinking I want to do that option B. And you're like, all right, I'll swing by. You go to John's house, you do the app, he doesn't qualify.
I don't think so.
Okay, good. I'm happy you never been in that situation. But guys, I can say I have been in that situation. Like, don't put yourself there. It's like, don't let them think about it when we don't even know if the insurance company is going to take them, right? Like, they can think about it, but like the insurance company got a lot to think about it too. So, in terms of that, guys, you want to remember like, you're not doing them a service of having them think over 5 different options that we don't know if they qualify for, right? So I think that hits it right on the head. We can't think about it right now. I like that, and leading with that. We can't think about it right now because we don't even know if you qualify, right? Like, and going from there, guys, like, but if you were to qualify, like, which one are we looking at, right?
Yeah. Or I will flat out ask them, like, what do you want to think about?
And what do people usually say when you've said that in the past, Letticia?
If I say what I want to think about, sometimes they'll say, they gotta make sure that it works within their budget and, make sure that everything is. I'm like, okay, well, tell you what, most families do is that they'll start off with the lower amount. Okay. So we can start off here to see if they will qualify you first for this lower amount right here. And then if they were to qualify you, we can make changes to that option, but we can't do any thinking. We can't make a decision until we hear back from the underwriters.
I love that. And leading guys with what most families do, is huge, right? Sometimes like I'll throw in there, Letticia, like the starter program. Like what most families do is the starter program, make sure they can get qualified and just show them a lower amount, guys. It's a way to get their foot in the door. They feel good about you now, you feel good about them, and they'll
You
up the
can,
coverage.
like, yeah, sure can.
Right, exactly. Like, so just don't be scared to drop the coverage, get their foot in the door, and move on, right? So I love that. Thanks. That's actually good. We can't think about it right now. And I'm gonna lead with that before I even start, before I do my closing question. Um, and now after you kind of go through everything, right? Like Letticia, throughout your insurance career, you ever have someone come in behind you and like rewrite your client?
I'm pretty sure that's happened before, but it doesn't happen a lot.
It doesn't happen a lot. See, so that's what we're going for, guys. So, guys, you like it's going to happen in this industry no matter what you say. You could be like the best post closer in the world. It's still going to happen here, there, a little bit. Okay. But there's some precautionary things we can put up when we're in the sale to make sure that that person stays with us for life, that they understand they're our client for life and they feel really good about it. So Letticia, how do you ensure that the person that you helped, today or yesterday is indeed going to be, your client for life? What does that look like for you?
Well, first I tell them that, but I also educate my clients a lot, right? Like I was telling one of my agents when I saw Christina sent me that veteran script, and on the veteran script, there were those pointers, the whole life pointers. Like, that's my whole life pointers. They incorporated that. Whoever did that, that's smart. They know their thing. So, so I tend to do that with all my clients that I sit in front of. I ask them straight up, like, do you know the difference between what a term life policy is and a whole life policy is and an index universal life policy is? And 9 times out of 10, most people, they don't know. And even if they do know, they're not insurance agents, so they don't remember everything and they don't know everything, right? So you have to educate your clients. When you educate your clients and they see you as somebody that is, reputable, credible, you're not just there just to shove something down their throats and then be out to onto the next. You're actually spending your time to make sure that they are educated on what they have. And not only that, guys, I always too, if they have existing policies, I always have them grab those policies because I spend my time with my clients to actually see what insurance policies they already have and what type of policies they already have. So that if they don't have a good policy, if they have a policy that sucks, I'm going to let them know this,
Right.
right?
And Leticia, real quick, just to kind of pause you right there. And when they do grab that policy, and let's just say the policy is not, your cup of tea, how do you approach, like, you're not going to be like, hey, your policy sucks. Like, what are you going to say?
So my go-to is to not tell them that their policy sucks, but to have their insurance company tells them that their policy sucks. Okay. So I will either have them get the policy out and I will show them, especially if it's a term policy, guys, in the table of contents within the term policy, it will show you exactly when the term policy premium, say for example, their premium is $500 a month. It will show you in that schedule where it will go from being $500 a year, excuse me, $500 a year to being 5,000 a year, then 6,000 a year, then 20,000, then it goes up and up and up and up and up and up and up. So you want to either show them that or you want to get their company on the phone so that they could tell them that this policy is actually going to expire on them in the next 10, 15, 20 years, and their premiums are going to be going up on them after that. So I don't tell them that per se. I either show it to them in black and white, or I call the company if they can't get their hands on the policy. So that way the actual representative can tell them.
Absolutely. And that's huge. Just even in terms of like what we were talking about, like ensuring your client is your client for life. Like that person's always going to trust you after you go through that. And education is huge, guys. It's like, if we all sit back and think, okay, before we got our life insurance license, did we know the difference between whole life, term life, index universal life? Like my answer is like, I didn't even know what life insurance was. Like I was like, I was not all there. I was like 19, but still, the point is, guys, is we talk to adults, teenagers, whatever it might be, every single people in their 30s who think that they know everything, right? Everyone in their 30s knows everything, by the way, and their 60s, which is great. But my point is, guys, is like Letticia said, 9 out of 10 times they're not familiar. And if you just take that extra like 5 minutes and explain a little bit to them, they're going to like you a lot more, right, Letticia? Like they're probably more geared to stay with you.
Mhm.
after you go through that.
More geared to actually listen to you intently. You can see the disposition, their actual disposition, their actual facial, their body expressions changing when you're actually educating them versus selling them, right? The trick, guys, is to learn how to help people, but by them figuring it out themselves, if that makes sense, right? Because when
Asking good questions, right?
right, because when I say to a client, hey, you know, a term policy, it terminates, right? It ends in 10, 15 years. You will no longer have that policy. They're like, oh, I don't want that. Like, I didn't say that. They said that,
Right.
but they verbalized that because I educated them on that. So when you get really good where you can educate people for them to think themselves to make their own decisions, then it's not a sale.
Right.
It's not a sale. It's something that they decide that they definitely want to have because this option is way better than the other.
Absolutely. At that point, it's like an assist, right? Like in basketball, like you just threw them the ball, like they got it, they got the shot, right? But it's like if we don't throw that assist, there's probably not going to be a shot done because we have agents like Letticia out there who are willing to educate, go above and beyond for their clients, and make sure that like they are locked in for life. I know if somebody like Letticia, you want to laugh real quick? Everyone on this call can laugh about this. Guys, I have so many different life insurance policies that I was like asking myself the own like I was doing my own financial inventory the other day. So I was like, you know what, Maurice, like this is wild. Like, girl, you don't even know what's gonna happen if you die, right? Like, what is it gonna look like, right? Like, let's talk about it. Like, so I'm doing my own inventory and I'm going through my different policies. In Letticia, I would have bet my like everyone I love's life that one of my accidental policies was a whole life policy. Like if
Wow.
someone had, like, like I thought it was whole life. Guys, I do this every day. People don't remember what they got. Like I have a lot of whole life. I have a lot of accidental. I have some IUL in there, but you got to review your policies every year. It's like, I didn't do that for 3 years, like guilty as charged. But I was like, wait, I'm paying $50 for an accidental death policy. What am I doing here? Right. Like I would tell a client like, hey, like, we have this company called Gerber that sells it for 350, right? So guys, like make sure like you're diving in on these things because they matter. Like they actually matter.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when you're able, guys, to get people out of a situation that, hey, a policy is going to end in the next 4 or 5 years, and they know that in the next 4 or 5 years, they won't be in a position to actually qualify for anything else because their health is deteriorating. Like that is amazing when they see you as that person that took them out of that situation and put them into something better. So not just go out there, guys, just to be able to make a sale, like a quick sale, but actually going out there to serve and educate people and to put them in a better situation than how you found them. That's how you keep clients and keep policies on the books.
I love that, Leticia. And there's so much truth in that. I don't think there could have been like a better answer to that. There's so many little one-liners and things like that we can say at the end, but if they don't feel cared about through the entire sales process, it doesn't matter what you say at the end. Okay. So, Leticia, that was awesome. And I never really had somebody go through it like that, even with me. So, thank you. And then just kind of wrap it up. Two last questions for you. If you had to give a piece of advice to like a piece of advice or two to a brand new agent, like what would the number one or two pieces of advice you'd give to them be?
Definitely your why is, definitely keep that in your forefront, like why you decided to come into this industry, whether that be, to change your life or to find a new craft or to, become a millionaire, like whatever, right? Put that in your forefront and always keep that in your mind. And then also set in stone a schedule and stick to it, right? Because when we are 1099s, we tend to think that it's just flexible and we just work whenever we feel like. And that's not how it works, right? So if you have a schedule, sit and actually, speak to your mentor, speak to whoever, and actually sit down and map out an actual schedule, a schedule that is productive, and stick to that schedule.
I love that. And keep your why in front of you guys. That's huge. And your why is going to change as you kind of go through this business. That's the beauty of it. But then also set in stone a schedule and stick to it. Now, Letticia, it seems like you probably didn't make half the mistakes I made in this industry. But was there ever a time that you set a schedule and you didn't stick to it? And you were like,
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think we all did that because like when we were 1099, we're like, oh, we're on boss.
right? We're like, we don't have to go to George's house. It's like, dude, you told George you were going to be there, right? So,
Sit
but
on the sit on the couch, watch Bold and the Beautiful before we go to our appointment. Like,
right. So, but it's like, guys, it's like, just like Letticia said, if you don't stick to that schedule, don't expect success. Like Letticia, did you ever see success before you had a schedule?
no, absolutely did not.
Impossible. It's impossible. I've never seen an agent be like, I don't have a schedule. I just kind of do what I want to do. And like, I help all these families and I'm so happy in this industry and it's great. No, it's usually like, I have all these problems. And you're like, what's your schedule? And they're like, well, I've been trying to do Tuesday from 8 to 12. It's like, okay, here's the problem. It's none of the things you saved in the beginning. It's your schedule that we're not sticking to. And guys, I say that like sarcastically. And sometimes I hope like you guys can understand my sarcasm. It's like, because I've been there. Like I've been the person that was like, well, Tuesday at 12, like I have to get my dog's gonna get like they might meet their girlfriend like in like I don't know, I just want to be there for the meet and greet of the dog's girlfriend boyfriend situation. Like it's like, dude, like stop. If you know your dog and your dog's new girlfriend about to meet up, like that's not, you better put it on your schedule. Like you better put it on your schedule. Like it better be after hours, right? It better not be doing income producing activities because guys, we make up so many different things and we even believe it too sometimes. Like there's been times like in the past, and by the way, guys, like there's nothing like getting asked by Sean Mike and really not understanding who Sean Mike is in 2018 and being like, him being like, so what's your schedule? And you're like, oh, well, I mean, like, I usually run about 30 appointments a week. That's what I told him. He said, what is your schedule? Just like Sean would, right? And I said, well, I come here to dial on Monday. And he said, what's your schedule? I said, on Monday and Thursday, I come here to dial. I said, what time? I said, I usually like to be here by like, 8:30. He said 8 or 8:30. And I was like, well, I usually don't get here till 8:30. He said, okay, well, then how about you say you're going to be here at 9 and you at least be honest with yourself? And it opened up my eyes to like, oh, okay. At least if I can be honest, I can be honest about my results too, right? If I only worked 10 hours last week and I only helped one person, okay, that sounds about right. But if I'm working, 60 hours a week and following my schedule, guys, the numbers are numbers. They're going to play themselves out, but it's like, you got to have that schedule and stick to it. So Letticia, I'm happy you said that. And by the way, guys, because I say this every week, Letticia, about the schedule, like I did not ask her that prior to this phone call. Like I did not ask her that. So